Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Connections for Life. I'm Ted Peet.
This is where you.
Was I supposed to go? I'm sorry. I got stuck behind the hole, girl. Sorry, Joe. I know you look disappointed in me every week.
Who are you?
I'm Joe Surratt, and I don't approve this message.
I think that's Chad Cuvo as well.
I forgot to say my name. I'm Chad Cuvo.
We're just gonna have to get you a hat with your name on it. So when you forget to say it, it just is emblazoned on the top.
That's a great idea. Maybe I'll make my background my name.
I think we should, don't you have one literally that has your name on the background?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's worn it before.
Hi, Chad. All right, so now the show is back new and improved without Chad Cuvo.
Yeah, right.
Oh. So what's up, boys? How was the weekend?
It's the same old, just trying to get through life. Had to mow. It was kind of chilly this weekend up here. I was like, it's kind of starting to be that fall time.
Brisk.
Starting to move in. So I don't like that. I had to wear like sleeves and shoes.
Did you paint? Did you work on the house? What'd you do?
No, I didn't do anything. Yeah, actually I did. If anybody's ever moved a giant piece of workout equipment, I had this elliptical that I had to move, and it weighs about 9,000 pounds.
Yeah.
So I had to take the whole thing apart. So now the whole thing is apart in pieces in the garage, and I have no idea how to get it back together. So,
You know how I avoided that?
fingers crossed.
I avoided that when we moved, Joe?
Sold it.
I sold it.
The problem I had, Ted, is that I wanted to sell it, but to get it out of the house, I had to take it apart.
That would have been on them, too.
So now I don't know if I should try to put it back together or just hope that somebody buys it in the pieces and parts.
Just listed in pieces.
I'm going to. I know with the statement that says, I know it goes back together.
Everything's there, I swear.
Yeah, there is. It's neat.
And how about you? You're doing all kinds of stuff over there, too.
Oh, yeah. I took my kids school shopping yesterday, and then, the garage is unpacked. Touchdown. That was Saturday.
Wow.
And then we took kids school shopping on Sunday.
Starting on the garage. Way to go.
Hey, you got to be able to get in the house.
Got to start somewhere, man.
Yeah.
It's usually the entrance to the home, which I assume is the garage.
That's the main entrance we use, yeah.
My weekend was not very.
Congrats. I know the new house is exciting, but also very demanding. So
it is.
That one.
It is. I cleaned the gutter. I got the gutter cleaned.
Nothing exciting.
Don't do that.
I said you were the best gutter clean.
I did it myself.
See?
So you know how, though?
That's why.
I put it on Facebook to ask for help because we looked at it from the outside of the house, right? And I was like, that's really high. I don't have a ladder for that. Somebody come help. And Chad goes, I put, who's the most qualified or somebody qualified, come clean my gutters. And Chad tagged me in my own post.
That's
But
funny.
then the previous homeowner wrote on it and then sent me a text message and goes, hey, you can get onto the main roof from the roof of the garage. And it's really easy. And I did it. And I go, man, this was really.
You know what I do every year? Like when I get up on the roof and I have to clean gutters or like power wash or something like that, I'm always like, yeah, man, no problem. I can do it. And then I get up there and I get about a foot from the edge and I'm like,
you go, I don't think I can do it.
Say my thing. Every year.
Every year.
One of these years.
Chad, what'd you do?
Nothing, man. It just kind of sat around. I didn't really do much without Logan.
But you're so good at that. Like,
what a skill.
What are you going to do today, Chad? Same thing I do every day, Pinky.
Absolutely nothing. No, with Logan being away at school now, it's kind of, there's not as much running for sure, and Zoe doesn't have any sports going on, so it's kind of like there's just not a lot going on.
Hey, you guys ever make sushi? I made some sushi this week. I did. You know what kind of pan I used?
Oh, here it comes. I saw it.
Japan. Come on, you can take that one home with you. And Chad froze. They'd laugh.
That's your new segment.
The dad jokes.
Joe's bad dad
jokes. No, Joe's
jokes. I don't know if anybody wants to hear any of those.
Well, let's get back to the regularly scheduled program. So today we have someone near and dear to my heart in the contractor world. We have Todd, the Mudslinger Tannehill, with us. Todd is the Northeast Mid-Atlantic Technical Sales Manager for CETCO Drilling Products, the drilling division of them. And he is an absolute gem to have on the show. It was a really informative interview, especially for Ace and Gary here, because they both self-admit that they didn't know much about it. I don't know much more than them.
I had to ask why it was called mud.
Yeah, when you said mudslinger, it sounded like he was coming down into the arena to fight George the Animal Steel. That's what it reminded me of. Todd the mudslinger. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, where did that come from? Didn't somebody called him that when we were talking about? Was it Dan or somebody called him that? Mudslinger.
Oh, really? I don't know.
And we were like, we're definitely putting that in the segment. So,
well, let's bring him on and see what he's got to say.
All right. Hello, Todd, and welcome to Connections for Life. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm alive.
How you doing, man?
Hey, Todd. Good to
Nice
see you.
small squares on my computer screen.
I'm Jim J. Bullock. I'm like the center square.
You should have changed your name. Oh, you can't see it.
Jim J. Bullock.
Yeah, I can't see it on the recordings.
So Todd, I'm glad you came on and decided to join us in Connections for Life. I usually ask the first question, so I wanted you to tell us a little bit about yourself and your history in the industry, essentially.
So like everybody in the industry, I grew up just with a desire to be in the drilling industry.
Oh, sure. I'm sure. Since you were like 8, probably, right?
Yeah.
That's what I like your kindergarten, like, what do you want to be when you grow up?
You grew up in
Actually, my parents had an office supply store when I was showing somebody the difference between a number 2 pencil and a number whatever pencil, and I decided I was going into drilling.
Perfect.
No, I got out of the Navy in '89 up in New England and was moving around job to job. You know, sometimes you get out of the military, you don't know what you're all suited for, and so I was moving around job to job, did some retail management, got into sales, and I was selling copiers. And one day I went in to see a guy at a water well distributor, and after I got done selling him something, he looked at me and said, "Hey, you want to sell water well supplies?" The only thing I knew about water well was Mom said, "Don't spray the house; it'll turn orange." So I swear I didn't have any knowledge of it whatsoever, and I just had some really, really great contractors up there that kind of took me by the hand and trained me in my early days working for them. And then I went and worked from there. I networked with some of my vendors and found out that a tank manufacturer up in New England was looking for a customer service manager over there. Finished my college while I was there, and then from there went out into sales. 2005, I got with CETCO. Just because they were one of my favorite vendors, as I'm sure Ed can tell you that.
Obviously.
We're good.
Yes.
That's awesome, though. It's a good story.
So I guess a little bit more about CETCO. Can you tell us kind of, I guess, what CETCO is and what markets you guys serve?
Yeah, so I kind of backtrack here a little bit. So when I joined CETCO in 2005, they were actually AMCOL International. And it wasn't until 2014 that they were acquired by Minerals Technology. There was Minerals Technology is out of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Where I grew up. Close to.
They do a lot of.
That's who we have to blame for that?
Huh?
He said, "That's where I grew up in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania." I said, "That's who we have to blame."
Yeah, good restaurants. Anyhow, so our office is out there. That's kind of where I've been with that, and Minerals has a lot of different divisions, but I'm in the. So up until this month, I was just selling non-oil and gas, bentonite and drilling fluids, polymers and additives, used for horizontal directional, which we do a lot of work with UTED, and then obviously geothermal grouting and drilling. We do water well, we do environmental drilling. And then this month, we actually, our group took over what we call DFA, drilling fluid additives, which is oil and gas.
Oh, that's pretty wild.
It is. It's it's a whole different field.
Yeah.
Things are the same basics, but it's very different what they do. And I'm sitting, my territory, I have the North Dakota drilling fields, and then I also have all the shale drilling.
So you have the Bakken on top of all the Marcellus and all. That's crazy. When it's going busy, it's got to be crazy, I guess. I mean, it's not super busy.
They tell me it is right now. Taking it over at this particular time, it's slow.
That's probably a good thing for now.
Yeah, it is. It's good for my learning curve, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Just like I learned the water well back in the 90s. It's one of those things where you just go and dive in, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So why don't you tell us a little bit of how some of your polymers, your minerals, and the drilling fluids have changed over the years since you've been in there, and what are your biggest markets, specifically?
So in my particular case, I deal with distribution in my area, and I cover a small little territory from Virginia to Iowa to North Dakota to.
Yeah, it's tiny. You're right. It's really
the size of mine.
No wonder you live south of Canada.
Maybe I cover this particular box.
Oh yeah.
COVID. But anyhow, the drilling fluids have changed. How have they changed? Well, the polymers have gotten a lot more sophisticated. The drilling fluids, we always have a saying that we say that we can make anything the driller wants. It's whether the industry will pay the money. So we've gotten a little bit more sophisticated with how we deal with clay. Like we used to use synthetics and just encapsulate clay and move the cuttings out. Now we actually use polymers that go down there, and I call it annihilating the clay. It kind of looks like liquid coming out, being like our clay cutter products and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I think that the drilling industry, it's really a whole marriage, especially in the horizontal field, between the proper tooling, and Ted knows this because he sells tooling too, but the proper tooling, the proper size of the hole to pull the product back. We want to make sure they have adequate room to move the cuttings in and out of the hole. And then just keeping the pressures down. If we keep the hole open, we keep the pressures down in the hole, and then we don't have frac outs and problems on the job site. Or that's the goal. Anytime you're dealing underground, it can be
wild.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's its own little, almost. I mean, it is. It's a niche little industry. I mean, wow. It just blows my mind how many different products there are, and what you just talked about, just dealing with clay. I guess one of my questions, and it's probably a really ignorant. No, they say there's never a stupid question, but this one might be. Why do they call it mud? I mean, in the industry, the material is called mud all the time. When I think of mud, I think about my kid wanting to beat him when he was little and going out and rolling in mud. But I know that's not what it is. I assume it probably looks like it, maybe. That's the first part of my question. Then I have a second one, but you can go with that one first.
So the base is mud. I mean, it's basically clay. It's sodium bentonite, which is mined out in the basin out in the Wyoming area. The sodium bentonite was put there by volcanoes years and years and years ago, and that's where they put it. So that's where we got to truck it.
Could have made it more convenient and left it in Youngstown.
It could have been, especially for our trucking fees getting it in. But I would also say this: it's called mud because, and I wish I had the specifics on this because I hate to say something without being able to quote it. But I've seen the video, and some of you could probably Google it. But back in the oil field days, they were having a hard time keeping the integrity of the hole, keeping it open. And a guy looked over and he saw a pasture and he saw this pond, and he moved all the cows into the pond, and they stirred up all the mud, and he started using that water downhole to use it. We refer to mud today.
No way.
That's that's not true. It is now.
Yeah. Okay, so now it's an official record.
Now there is a video with somebody telling the story
on YouTube.
I hadn't seen it.
Well, hey, good, because I was feeling really inferior. I was watching the episodes over the week, looking at it.
You just created history, my friend.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at Donna and Ted talking about they were Hitler targets, and then there's some kind of synthetic rubber ice cream. I'm like, I got nothing,
I got nothing to offer.
Yeah.
Came up with the cow in the field story on the whim.
But anyhow, drilling mud, drilling fluid, it's interchangeable. We like to call it drilling fluid, but everybody refers to it as mud. Everybody refers to the guys who go out and help on the job site, such as myself and my peers, as mud engineers or mud doctors. So
okay.
That's kind of how it got started.
That's awesome.
What about a mud school? What's entailed in a mud school? Because
and a mud school. What's entailed?
Yeah, I would love to know.
And how long is it? I mean, yeah, I guess, go ahead. Tell us all about it, because I don't know much about it either.
So I have a slide deck that can run for 2 days for an advanced mud school, where we actually pull out all the testing equipment, the hygrometers and the filter presses, and let the guys touch and feel and see what's going on downhole.
They're going to play in mud?
With the mud, yeah. And
we were supposed to have one at our last sales meeting, but COVID made it go virtual, Chad, so we got robbed of that.
I was going to
and then we can do 2-hour mud schools, and then we can do what we call specific targeted schools that are done on the contractor's site, usually on the tailgate of my rental car or truck. And basically, we do a mud school specifically to what they're in there. If they're in sand, we're going to do a mud school on sand and keeping the fluid in the hole and keeping the hole integrity. If they're in clay, we're going to talk about sticky clay and how to stop that. So we can do any length of time you want. We do a lot of mud schools.
That's awesome. That's I really would actually like to sit through one of those.
Yeah.
If we ever get through this COVID thing, it would be great. I guess one of the other questions is, why don't you tell me about CETCO's mud and the drilling fluids and why they're so effective and they're high performing mud essentially. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about it and what you guys do a little bit different?
It is. So there's sodium bentonite, but there's also something called calcium bentonite. Calcium bentonite's found everywhere. And back in my stint as the vice president of CETCO, I was over the other sales groups also, being Australia, China, Europe. Over there, especially in the European markets, they have to use more calcium bentonite, so they have to treat it up with polymers more. We're very fortunate here that we have really good sodium bentonite. It swells. And in fact, if you were to take a cubic inch, another story, man, I might actually beat somebody else on one of these episodes. Anyhow, if you were to take a cubic inch of bentonite and peel off all the labels or all the platelets of it and stretch them out, you could cover 66 American football fields. And what that stresses is good mixing. And each one of those platelets does a different thing. So on some of them go to coat the borehole, either whether it's vertical or horizontal. And they go against the side of the borehole and they create a filter cake. And then the fluid that's inside is used for suspending the cuttings and moves them in and out. And the pressure of the fluid pushes against that filter cake and keeps the hole open. Because the minute you take that real estate out, the minute you go through there with one of your tools, you suddenly have the ground around it just wanting
to compress.
Yeah.
So it's a really inanimate object, clay, but it's a smart mineral, and it does a lot of good things for us.
I mean, and this may be another stupid question. This could be my day. How much, if I get I know you sell some in bags and things like that, but how much of that bentonite goes in? It's certain. I mean, obviously it's made for every mixture, but you said that one little square inch could cover a full football field. That's all. I can't even. My mind is blown just by how many layers and how thin it must be in the layers.
Like 66 full football fields.
Whatever. At one football field,
So every time I tell that fact in a class, you always get that one person that's got the sea monkeys in the back of Boy's Life magazine ad in his mind. You put these brine shrimp in, they get real huge and stuff.
Yeah.
It's really not like that. It's a really tight swelling bentonite that, so it's not like you put a cubic inch in and it's going to just.
That's pretty neat though. That's really cool.
These are the platelets that you peel off, and those platelets, as they separate in the mix tank that you see out on the job sites next to the horizontal directional rigs.
That's awesome.
But as far as how much you'll need, let me check my month here and see how much I need you to order.
There he is. There's the salesman in heart.
I think the cool thing about it is and most people just, and me also, I mean, my knowledge is relatively limited when it comes to directional drilling, as a whole. That's not part of the industry that I've really spent a lot of time in. And I think that most people hear mud and they think of it as very simplistic. And I think it's the science behind it, what you do, and the amount of different additives and things that you do to maximize your product is incredible. And I don't think most people think of that or understand that. So I don't know. I just wanted to say it was cool. I learned more today than I've been in upschool for 10 years hearing about mud, and I learned more in the last 15 minutes than I have in 10 years. So
I got to quit giving these long 2-hour schools and just come on these.
Yeah. Well, we're not that smart either, so we can't retain a whole lot. So it's just
well, he already forgot what he learned. Don't let him.
My brain does not cover 66 football fields. I promise you that.
To what Joe just said, though, what people don't realize is that there is a lot that goes in a bag of bentonite. So our hydro-use, which is our HDD drilling fluid, there's a whole R&D department around that who actually plots out the performance and tries to get it at the optimum peak performance at the nominal cost that the market can take. Remember earlier I said we can make anything you want, but will the industry pay for it?
Yeah.
Some just unbelievable stuff in geothermal that we could use for conductivity. And we've settled back on graphite products now to replace sand because they're in that cost-effective range that we need to be in. And it'd be great if we could put everything out, but you guys all know you could probably sell everything that you make. Every vendor would tell you they can make a better product, but does it need to be better?
Right.
Exactly. The job getting accomplished is the mission getting completed.
There's also a point of diminishing returns where you're spending too much money to facilitate your actual end goal, and I think that's where you could try to balance that out.
And Joe, that's where they graph it, and they see where when you keep making it better, are we actually getting better results? Or if we back it off, are we actually doing good? And so, you know, when I came to CETCO in 05, I thought the same thing. It's a bag of dirt. My number one question was, we got enough of this stuff to sell until I retire? You know?
You're not going to run out, right?
But we do actually. Minerals Technology probably has the most reserves out there in that basin out there. It's all public land that was staked years ago by the different companies, and then we go out and mine it. We have to return it to better than it was.
Oh, that's cool. Well, I want to say thanks. You know, we try to keep these relatively short. I'm sure we could probably talk for the next 20, 30 more minutes about muds. And I know that I have a plethora of other questions. But I just want to say thanks. You know, we have people come on the show all the time, and it's gotten to a point where I think we're all comfortable enough now that we are actually learning while we're talking instead of just thinking about what we're trying to say. So I just want to say thanks for the education. I think there's a whole lot more to learn, and we're really looking forward to when this COVID thing breaks and we can get you to come out or come see you and maybe learn a little bit more about what you guys actually do. I know it was really informative, and I bet you there's a lot more meat on the bone there. So
yeah, and guys, just real quick, I want to thank UPSCO. I brought you on as a distributor back in early 2000s, and you've done a great job for CETCO. You're a knowledgeable company. You want to go out and actually provide solutions to your customers, and we really appreciate distributors like that at CETCO. So thank you for your hard work.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Appreciate that very much.
Hey, thanks for joining us on Connections for Life.
Thank you, Todd.
Todd, thank you for joining us on Connections for Life. That was a great interview. Really special having you on there.
Wow. Wow. I'm here on Planet Purple in case anybody wanted to know. No, Todd was awesome. Todd was absolutely awesome to have on. And, you know, some of the funny things I think that you didn't talk about in the beginning was I believe he was actually a stand-up comedian and won like an amateur stand-up contest. And he's actually kind of funny and dry.
He is kind of funny.
It's real dry humor. It's funny.
It's neat to meet a guy that, like, I mean, I've been here for, you know, as long as I have been, and I've heard his name a million times, but I've never actually had a conversation with him. So to bring a face to a name like was cool. And I know that I've heard from other sales guys, Christian and Scuba, and obviously Ted, that Todd's a pretty cool guy, but it was nice to finally get to know him and learn a little bit more about his product. So I almost said Ted. Todd, Ted, whatever. Thanks for everything, man. We really do appreciate it. Cool. And I would like to personally hit one of those mud schools up at some point just to learn a little bit more.
Oh, we're going to have one at our next actual sales meeting in person. Todd's coming to do a mud school for us. 2029, yeah, 2029.
Right when my Social Security kicks in.
I can't help but look at Chad and just expect like Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata to be playing in the background. So
or like a
crash.
Or like a creepy werewolf face to come out of the corner. You know what I mean? Like a howling wolf or something.
So what do we got for industry / UPSCO update, Joe? Anything, what's happening on your end?
Oh, that was unexpected. I don't know. I just I think we kind of made it. We made it through the.
I don't know.
We made it through the trade shows, right? I mean, like those are kind of, I think, pretty much finished for now. There's a couple of small ones remaining, like local regional things that are out there, but I mean the big ones and the national ones that we do, I think have kind of ended for now. So let's just hope that going forward, we had mentioned that we want to put together an UPSCO kind of trade show. That's still in the works. UPSCO Expo. I don't say that because it's hard for me and I stumble on it. So I don't know. I think there'll be more information about that. Chad, Ted, and I need to do some more talking, but we've kind of narrowed in and zeroed on some dates, and we've talked to some of the vendors and principals that we would like to have, and they seem to be on board. So all signs pointing to a positive outcome, but just hold on a little bit more for more info.
And Chad, you got anything?
We've been trying to revive the employee profiles a little bit again. We had Carrie on last week, and this week we're going to have Puff.
Steve Langtree.
All I really know him is Puff, but it's Steve Langtree. He'll be coming out probably later this week. Should be fun.
I don't know the meaning of the nickname, so I
don't either. I know they call him Coach a lot. We'll find that out because he coached everything in Moravia, I think, for a long time. Almost everybody there calls him Coach, and we call him Puff. And I don't know. We're gonna add maybe that's a good question.
That's a great one.
Really, really interesting story about this really fast is that I raced sailboats growing up. I think most of you probably know that or have heard that before. Yeah, Chad does now. Little different though. I raced ones that weren't made out of wood. But I used to race when I was a kid. We used to always have a crew of 7 or 9, depending on what boat I was on. And for 2 seasons, we had a gentleman on the boat with us that I became friends with. He was a bit older than me. Long story very short, it's Puffy's brother.
Oh, really?
And that was when I was a teenager, and I didn't even know he was from the town that he was from, and we kind of pieced it together over time and working
How
at
is that
Upsco.
even
But
possible?
I know it's so weird coincidence, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you know what's crazy though that we're talking about?
Wait, it might be his
all of a sudden?
cousin,
Same thing.
brother, cousin, related. How's that?
Yeah.
And and the guy worked at Upsco because he's in a picture of one of the bathtub races. Swear to goodness.
Gosh.
Yep.
Man.
Yeah.
So we literally, that's weird that the show transitioned to sailing somehow today, because we were driving up the lake yesterday, and our first thing in the morning, and there's a sailboat going, and my wife looks at me and she goes, I think we need to get the kids sailing lessons next summer. And I go,
I'll teach him.
why would I literally look at her and go, Joe knows how to sail. Joe did it forever. He could teach our kids how to sail.
I would. I'd love to.
She goes, got it. Know a lot
This is
more
where
about
they'll
Joe
end up
now.
if they sail with Joe.
Yeah. We might
All right,
even
well,
swims with the fishes is the name of my boat.
We don't float.
All right,
Yeah.
guys.
Hey, great episode. Till next week. Thanks for joining us here on Connections for Life.
Thank you,
Always.
guys.
Thanks.